Sometimes you look around your own home, and there's this heavy silence. A space that used to be buzzing with connection now just feels quiet. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about that feeling, get to the bottom of where it comes from, and, most importantly, lay out a real first step you can take to start finding your way back to each other. All right, let's get into it.
So, does this question kind of hit home for you? Maybe you've noticed your conversations have just shifted. They're all about logistics now, right? Who's grabbing the kids? What's the plan for dinner? Did you pay that bill? You're sharing a house, you're sharing a life, maybe even a bed, but that real deep connection, that feeling of being partners, it feels miles away. I want you to know you are so not alone in this. It happens to so many people.
There's actually a name for this. It's called the silent drift. It's this really subtle, quiet thing that happens where a real partnership just kind of fades into just living together. The tricky part is, it doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow burn, which is exactly why it's so important to see it for what it is. Catching this drift early, that's everything. It's how you turn the ship around before you end up too far from shore.
So, how do you actually spot it? Well, getting back on track really starts with just that, identification. It's about learning to see those little signs, the subtle clues, before the resentment starts to build up and becomes this huge wall between you two. So let's look at some of the real, tangible things you can watch out for.
I think this slide just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? On one side, you have partners. They share what's really going on inside, their fears, their dreams, their feelings. They look for ways to connect. But on the other side, you have roommates. They just share schedules and to-do lists. Instead of seeking connection, they might even start seeking ways to avoid it. And that affection, it can get replaced by this general apathy, where it feels like the emotional energy has just left the building.
Let's boil this down to 3 things that are pretty easy to remember. The 3 A's. First up is apathy. This is when the silence isn't comfortable, it's just empty. It's when you realize you don't even care enough to have an argument anymore. Then there's avoidance. You find yourself working late more often, or maybe you're just constantly scrolling on your phone because it feels safer, right? Easier than starting a real conversation. And finally, affection. Those little things, a hand on their back as you walk by, a quick kiss goodbye, they just stop. The real work here is to just ask yourself honestly, have these A's started showing up for you?
Okay, seeing the signs is a huge first step. But to really get what's going on, we got to go a little deeper. We need to ask, okay, how did we even get here? And a lot of the time, the answer is hiding in something we all have, called an attachment blueprint.
So what is an attachment blueprint? Think of it like a hidden map for love that you carry around in your head. It tells you how relationships are supposed to feel, how connection works, all of it. And here's the kicker. You didn't draw this map. You learned it. Almost everything you believe about love was programmed into you when you were a little kid. It's wild, but our logical adult brains have very little say in who we're actually drawn to.
And this quote, this just nails it. We don't always go for what's healthy or what we think we want in a partner. Nope, we are pulled, like a magnet, toward what feels familiar. Our brains are wired to repeat the emotional patterns we grew up with, even if those patterns were kind of painful.
Let me give you a real-world example of how this works. There was a client, Maud. She was trapped in this heartbreaking cycle of dating men who would just vanish. So when we looked at her history, her blueprint became crystal clear. See, her dad left when she was really young and would only pop in and out of her life. So for her, as a child, love felt like these amazing, intense reunions, followed by really long, painful goodbyes. So as an adult, her brain was unconsciously searching for that exact same pattern because that's what love felt like to her. It was familiar.
Okay, so understanding your blueprint can be a total light bulb moment. But then you think, so what do I do with this information? How do you actually start to change things? Well, you start small. You start with a really simple, honest exercise. It's time to take your relationship's temperature. Here's how this check-in works. It's really important that you and your partner do this separately at first. So grab a piece of paper. First, on a scale of 1 to 10, just rate how satisfied you are in the relationship right now. Then, do the same thing for how close you feel. The goal here is just total honesty with yourself, but also kindness. And then the last step, and this one is so important, write down 3 things you genuinely cherish about your partner. Could be something about the personality, could be a memory. This part helps your brain start to focus on the good stuff again.
Now, let's be really clear about something. The point of this little exercise is not to fix every single problem by tomorrow. It can't. The real goal is to just set a different tone. It's a quiet, personal way for each of you to say, you know what? I'm willing to try. I'm willing to look for the good in you. I'm willing to work on us. And that's huge.
Taking that first small step opens the door to getting back to each other. And that path, it isn't paved with some big, dramatic, movie-style gestures. It's paved with all the small things, all the consistent little efforts. It's about rebuilding that foundation of care and appreciation, just one tiny act at a time.
If you feel like you want to keep going on this journey, the creators of this whole framework, ResolveTogether, have a bunch of great resources. They've got a free About Your Partner worksheet you can download. It's got some fun, lighthearted questions to help you rediscover each other. If you want something more in-depth, their books, Harmonious Marriage and Mantras of Love, are fantastic. And of course, you can subscribe to their channel for more great insights like this.
If you only take one thing away from our chat today, let it be this: a relationship is a living thing. And just like any living thing, if you neglect it, it's going to wither. But the beautiful part is that it's also incredibly resilient. With just a little bit of intentional care, a little attention, it can absolutely begin to flower again.
So I'll leave you with this one question to just think about. Just for you, thinking about your partner, your situation, what is one small, simple act of care that your relationship really needs from you today? Thanks so much for spending this time with me.